How would we give criticism? Here's an easy answer, an easy rule to follow. 3 compliments to every criticism. Right? If you just start out saying, man, you suck. Right? God, I'm hating. What's up? Now you have to defend yourself. Well, but if I say, man, I enjoy playing with you, man. Man, thank you, you know. Man, that solo you did on such and such a song, that was great, man. Thank you very much. You're relaxed. And then I say, you know what, but on this particular song, I'm having trouble finding the time. Every time you do that fill, see, you seem to be rushing. You know, next time you do that fill, let's look at each other. Let's see if we can.
And that brings us right back to the first thing we talked about, is if you're playing with other musicians, you have a relationship. It's like any relationship. Some people can just be so frank and upfront with each other. You suck. And you go, well, yeah, I do, right? So tell me what I need to do. And we can operate at that level. But in general, it sounds like you're saying, what if I have trouble with people I play in a band with? He makes it, it's such a simple rule, but 3 compliments, and you get to the meat of it. And that way, it doesn't sting, and it comes off even as a suggestion rather than a criticism. Does that make sense?
And make the compliments real.
Yeah.
Right?
Now,
if you can't come up with anything good, then you may have a problem. Right? Just say. So make them real. The other thing, too, is that we don't make these criticisms during the gig. Right? If my drummer is rushing every fill during the gig, and I'm the bass player, I'm going to make sure you don't notice. That's how good I'm going to be tonight. That's my challenge to myself. After the gig, we're going to have a talk. During the gig, he's my partner. Yeah. I'm not going to throw him under the bus. Hey, dude, come on, man. None of that. That happens after the gig in a privacy. And sometimes all it takes is listening to the gig together. And then he'll probably notice it himself. Man, I'm rushing. Oh, yeah? I didn't notice. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying, because this guy's got almost perfect timing. His timing is amazing. But those are some things that you can think about and try.
Right here.
Rhythm, yeah. Sure. How to make rhythm feel better as a group in a band. What's your instrument? Pianist and a bass player. You mind coming up just really quickly? Really quickly. I'll do this really fast. I'm gonna try. What's your name? This is Adal. Play whatever you like. Just play something for us. Okay, very nice, Nadal. Very nice. Adal, how you Adal. Very, very nice. You play in a band?
Here,
What do you mean here?
in the school.
In the school. Okay. Who's one of your favorite drummers to play with at the school?
She's not here.
She, but who is it?
Wait, this is my class.
What's the name?
Wait.
Wait. So now you passed the bass playing test. This is now a different type of test. I want to test your imagination. I want you to imagine that Way is sitting behind that kit right over there, or wherever you want. I want to see how well you can see her, hear her, and even feel her, because you'd probably feel that. Great, great. Right? So it's all music. It's all music. Okay, what I want you to do now is see her, hear her, and feel her. But I don't want you to put any attention on the bass. Zero. And I want her to play first. Let her play a while. And when she's ready, you join her. Again, you want to see her, feel her. This is an imagination exercise. Don't put any attention on the bass. But when you're ready or when she's ready, play with her. Don't think about the bass. Think about the drum, not the bass. Keep playing, but don't think about it. Right? Don't think of that at all. Just do it. Okay. Now, we didn't say play softer. I didn't say play with more space. We just said listen to your drum.
We didn't even say play more in time.
Right.
Just said listen to the drummer.
That's all we said. And the timing is metronomically perfect.
Because who wants to play with a bad drummer in their head? Anybody ever, when you imagine yourself getting down, do you ever imagine yourself playing with a bad drummer? You just don't.
Right.
So go with your imagination.
Right. So hopefully you're seeing that all of these things are simpler than we want to make them. How do I play with good time? Play with a drummer with good time. It's that simple, even if you have to make up the drummer.
Yeah.
Timing was perfect. Usually people leave that much space. We want to rush through that space so I can play the next note. But because she's imagining the drummer, her timing is perfect. It's that easy.
Okay, he gave you the Victor Wooten kind of thing. Vic, grab your bass for a second.
Okay.
Here is the meat and potatoes of making things feel good. And it's understanding the 16th note. Yeah. Thank you. So I think you do a great example of not only demonstrating where moving 16th notes around like creates funk or country
sure.
and all of that, but inside of this is a really deep understanding of 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and understanding where every one of those sit in the grid. And that's where a lot of us, we don't work on it enough. It's just a simple matter of understanding that grid. So,
Do you mind doing, can I do this with the metronome?
yeah.
I want to do this with the metronome because I want you to understand that the metronome is not moving. In other words, if I do it with a good drummer, if my timing gets off, he'll correct me. So I want to do this with a metronome so that if I'm off, right? But Steve said something that I think is very critical. Most of us musicians in here, or all of us, need to understand rhythm down to the 16th note. 32nd is, cool too, but everybody, the bass players, all of us need to know rhythm down to the 16th. It doesn't mean that we're going to be playing da 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 da, but we might play a doom doo ba doo doo, doom doo ba doo. Those are 16ths, even just a few of them. Or I might even just do a pluck or something on a 16th. And if I don't know where it is, because the drummer might be playing 16ths, and if I'm playing 16ths and we're not together, it's just going to sound busy. Right? So, 16ths are 1 EN, a 2 EN, a 3 EN, a taka taka. Thank you. Taka 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 taka. Here's our quarter notes. You can go faster, just a hair faster than that, if you don't mind, Steve, just a hair. So, rhythm makes styles of music, right? We don't have funk, bluegrass, jazz, reggae. It's not the notes that make these styles. It's everything else. It's the rhythms and things. So if I play quarter notes, like 1, 2, 3, and I put a pluck on 4, that doesn't sound too funky. Now, what funk is a bunch of downbeats with a sprinkling of upbeats, meaning on E's and U's, 1 E or 1 E and up. Not too many, just a sprinkling of E's and U's, so downbeats, right? If I put this pluck on 4, it's not funky, but if I put on a 4, 2, already I got you, right? Just by putting on a 4 or 3 and that's the 3 and right? It's starting to get funky. Now if I put the 1 on the E, 1, 2, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and all of a sudden funk music is being born. It's not because of notes. It's because of where the 16ths are. Right? So if I play these notes, shoot, 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 shoot. Right? Right? Sounds bluegrass, but if I take every note and move it a 16th herder, all of a sudden, the style of music has changed. They're still quarter notes apart. They're just on upbeats. And all of a sudden, it's Latin. So, downbeats with a few upbeats is funk. Add too many upbeats, it becomes a whole nother style of music. Right? So to play these different styles of music, we need to understand where these things are. Right? In an exercise I was talking to Sharon, right, about is most of us will only use the metronome in one of two ways, right? Let's say I'm going to walk a blues. I might go. That's putting the metronome on 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3. But most of us would put the metronome on 2, 3, 4. Right?
The drummer's hi-hat. It's a good place, but
that's 2 and 4. I think we can outgrow that, meaning we'll get to a point where our rhythm is so good where that doesn't do us any good. So when I say understand the 16th notes, I'm going to put this metronome now on a 16th. Like I'm going to put it on the E, E, E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and. Now it's harder. Same metronome, but now I'm realizing, wow, my timing is not as good. Right? So same metronome in a different place becomes harder. But check this out. See if I can do this. E and a 1. Hear how the metronome is square. But listen. Now it's swinging. Now I'll make it square again. That means I know exactly where I'm putting the beat. I'm not guessing. Right? Now that may sound like I'm bragging, but it's just because I've worked on it.
But everybody's still feeling it.
Right?
That's still there.
Just worked on it. So now playing with a drummer is that easy. If I can make that swing, playing with a swinging drummer is a piece of cake.
Just give a downbeat on 1.
Okay, so.
Get these. Get that in
three,
your head.
four. So 1 E and a
There's a
2
game
E
you
and
can
a
play.
3 E and a 4 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a. This is just a rhythm game we play. A 4 E and a. Where does that hit?
So
3 E and a 4 E and a.
you're going to clap now on whatever it is in those partials. I'm going to throw it somewhere else. And this is random. I don't know where it's going to land. Sometimes it gets funny.
And a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2. That's the down E 4 E and a. That's hard to do, right? That's talent right there.
This is not the right kind of bottle. This one opens up.
Oh, it's opening up.
That's
Uh-oh.
all right.
1 E and a
Maybe
2 E
yours
and
is
a 3 E and a. Yeah, that one's still.
Yeah, but it's
I haven't
too
even
heavy.
opened it.
It'll blow
3
up.
E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2
No,
E and a.
yes.
Yeah. 1 E and a 2
You got to have the right kind of bottle.
Make sure the top's on it. 1 E and a 2 E and 3 E and a 4 E and a. Clap it. 4 E and a. Nice. 3 E and a 4 E and a. Now what's that beat? 4 E and a. One. The E of 1. 4. Yeah.
Let's see if I can get a bounce on it.
So listen for 2 beats. See if it bounces. 4 E. It's kind of hard to hear.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. 4
Yeah, you guys aren't agreeing. You're in different places.
All right, listen to the next one. Here's beat 1. Beautiful.
So anyway, you guys, it's a creative use for a water bottle and rhythm training because it's random, but you can get better at it. It's stuff you can practice.
And it's fun.
When we're on the road, everything is rhythm or pitch. Like that when that phone rang earlier, whose phone was that? So what pitch? Was that yours? All right, get out of here. No. What pitch does that phone ring at? Okay. How many in here don't know or do know what pitch your phone rings at? So without perfect pitch, you have such an opportunity to work on your ear. Multiple times a day. Every time that thing rings, you know what pitch that is, and then you can start comparing it to the other pitches going on around you. Ear training, when we're on a tour bus, ear training never stops. When we hear a horn off in the distance, we're going, C sharp, and then the drummer with perfect pitch goes, no, it was a D. Or rhythms, when we hear a backfire, if there's music playing, we say, that was the and of 3. So we're always thinking like that, and I encourage people to do that because you can take idle time out of your day where you don't think you're learning something. You can actually be reinforcing your ears.
Right. I mean, we're crazy with it. We even know what tempo our windshield wipers are in our car.
94 beats a minute.
Yeah, that's
Mini Cooper.
I mean, but the other day, we were in a classroom. And this, we were having, taking turns with the students leading things. I mean, as simple as counting off a song. This kid didn't really know how to do it. And he said, okay, I want this to be at 100 beats per minute. And he starts clapping, and right away, Steve, because he knows his windshield is 94. He's like, Steve, that's not 100. And because if you're going to, as soon as you call out a number, this is at 110, you need to know what you're talking about. Right? But because Steve can tap out 94 pretty much by thinking of his windshield
I'm
wipers.
always turning in the car. I mean, and literally that's where that 94 is an anchor for me. I can just call that up at any given moment. I mean, it's just there, so I can relate other tempos to that.
Yeah, I get in the car, there's a G that tells me to put on my seatbelt. The thing is that music is everywhere. For most of us, music only happens a few times a week when we pick up our instrument. You get better, but slowly. Right? A child doesn't have to be talking to get better at talking because they're listening to everything, even when you think they aren't. Children are always listening. Right? You don't have to tell them to. So when you allow your whole world to be music, like for us, music, the whole world is like our musical parkour, game. You know, parkour is this thing where people like swing from trees to trees and jump off buildings, where the whole world, everything, the whole city becomes their gym. For us, the whole city, the whole town is our musical playground. We know our cell phone rings. We know what tempo they are. So we're always getting better, you know? So in other words, basically what Steve is saying is we always have an opportunity to get better, not just when we have our instruments.
And we don't take advantage of a lot of them. They just pass us right by, and we don't use them.
All right, it's close to 10:30.
Yes. So okay, one quick question there. I hate to say it, Vic, but we're not going to have time for all these questions because I want to play a little bit more music.
Okay.
And we've got a special guest who's going to come up with us. But yes, go ahead.
We're both the best you've ever heard? What?
Yeah.
No, just kidding. What'd you say? Sorry. Thank you. Sure. The faster way of learning all these musical languages? Listening. Listening. Sure. Yeah. Sure.
Can I change your analogy just a little bit for me? You're saying every genre is a different language. I think there's one language.
Right.
It's the same 12, in most music, Western music, and most of the music that we play, the same 12 notes, it's the same rhythms that are in Beethoven that are in Metallica. The same notes, the same rhythm. The only thing that changes are the dynamics, the tones, the intention, the intensity, the phrasing. So that's our language. Those 12 notes and those however many rhythms. I think as we get into different genres, that's like a different accent. Like somebody from a different part of Israel still may speak the same language, but you can tell they're from a different part by the way.
I can hear it, right.
Yes.
Right. Right. But sometimes it doesn't. Because if you're a singer, we already have good American singers. What we don't have is good American singers with your accent. So when you learn to make that a plus, it'll stop sucking. Right? But if you suck with an Indian accent, you really suck. You know? But you can turn that into a plus. You really can turn that into a plus because that accent is your fingerprint. That's what makes you you. So you might want to learn to get rid of it, but not permanently. That's what I would say. You want to keep what is you. Yeah. That's what I say.
And the best way to learn different genres is to listen to them. You can't get it out of a book. You have to listen. Just like if you want to get rid of your accent, or an actor wants a Southern accent in the United States, and they're from New York. They listen to it and they start practicing talking like this, and then you can hear the difference. Dang it! Yeah. I'm from the South, so I come through it naturally.
Listening and participating. You know what? Analyzing can be good, but sometimes you don't even have to. Like if I go to Australia for 2 months, I'll come home with an Australian accent. Not through analyzing, but through immersion. But analyzing might be good too. Then you know what the differences are. Like I just analyzed the difference between funk and Latin.
Right.
So that could work too, but it doesn't mean you have to.
Okay, real quick.
You're teaching people who haven't learned before? Sure. If you're teaching people who haven't learned before, how do you not take away their natural freedom? Sure. My brother Reggie, it's going to be different for everyone. But my brother Reggie, when he was teaching me to play the bass, if you give anybody a guitar who's never played it before, they're going to hold it like this, and they're going to want to play with their thumb. 99.9% of the time, that's what they're going to do. So as a 2-year-old kid, that's what I did. So Reggie, He was only 10 at the time. He's still a kid, too. He's my oldest brother. Why he got so smart, that's the real thing. I get a lot of credit, but the real genius is my brothers, right? Anyone born to 5 to 4 genius older brothers would be better than me, because I don't like to practice, right? But anyway, back to this. Everyone's going to do this. Anyone who's never played before is going to do this. So Reggie could have said, no, Victor, little brother, you don't play like that. You have to use your fingers. That's the way it's done. Reggie says, okay, you want to play with your thumb? His idea is, I'm going to show you how to really play with your thumb, right? He showed me so many things with my thumb that now there's names for these things. There's double thumbing, double plucking, all this stuff. He was just showing me how to use my thumb the way he used his pick. So he went with what I was naturally, my natural tendencies. He started there, where most teachers will start with their own natural tendencies. Here's what I do, so learn what I do. Well, Reggie looks at what you do and makes that better. And then, like a kid who only wants to eat sweets, you have to sneak in the vegetables, right? You have to sneak in the stuff you know they need, because you know what they need even before they know what they need. But if you don't give them what they want, you only have a student for a short while. They'll leave.
In a little, but what you're kind of saying is, especially for people who've never played, or I try to do it for everybody, is to find a way to make it fun. Because we all do things longer if we're having fun. And sometimes that just takes a shift in your mind as you work on these. That can be that, or that can be fun. Then learning scales becomes fun.
Yeah, basically we make music out of every exercise.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone. Scales are fun.
Right back there.
Okay. Is it a good thing to study classical music? Classical composition? I'll just put it this way. I don't know your boyfriend, so I don't know what's good for him. But I do know that all the greatest musicians that I know, Coltrane, Miles, Bird,
Chick Corea,
all the greatest ones studied classical composition.
And still do, the ones that are alive. They still study it.
No, I mean, they're learning it on their own instrument. Absolutely. All of them. Ron Carter, everyone. So that's our answer for that. He can make his own choice. But I know that all my heroes studied. Stanley Clarke, Marcus Miller, all the greatest study classical composition.
Man, the hands, now you guys, we're trying to end them and you keep thinking of more stuff. Golly, Vic, you be the bad guy.
All right, go for it. Yeah. What? Yes.
It just came up. I always think of what my goal should be.
Uh-huh.
Where should I run to?
Sure.
And obviously, most of us would like to be the greatest in what we do.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, have you ever thought you would be the greatest?
I don't think like that. The question is, have I ever thought I would be the greatest? No, I'm so lucky to have had wonderful parents and wonderful brothers. And I was never trained to think like that. We just did what we did. Let me think. What's your first language? Hebrew. You ever thought about being the greatest Hebrew speaker? Yeah. I already know the answer. It's funny because it's a silly question, isn't it? Why is music different? It's not different. It's the way you think about it that makes it different.
There is no such as the greatest in Hebrew, and there is no one would like to be the greatest in Hebrew, but most of us, of course there is, but do you know their name? No, there's not one and nobody knows.
Hey, the point is, Here's the point. Since you're asking the question, let's just stick with you. Let's not think about anyone else. You never thought about being the greatest Hebrew speaker. You just speak and you sound like you. If you called on the phone to a friend, all you'd have to do was say one word and they would know it was you. That's not even trying. It's because you never thought about it that makes you who you are. It's because you haven't thought about it, right? It's a losing battle. Just trust me. It is a losing battle to try to become the greatest at anything. If you want to become the greatest that you can be, you're already successful. But it doesn't stop you from getting better. You're the only one. You're the only one that has this fingerprint. In the history of humankind, past, present, and future, the fingerprint you have on your fingers have never been here and never will be here. In the history of humankind. So you are born special, individual, one of a kind, and great. You get that? But it doesn't make your fingerprint any better than anyone else's. It doesn't make it any worse either. And you're not trying to make it better. You don't say, oh man, I like your fingerprint. I want yours.
It's not about being someone else's or greater than someone else. It's being
the great. So, okay, then maybe I misunderstand. What do you mean by being the greatest?
You know what? It's not the greatest because there are many, many people who are
Now, so are you changing your question?
famous. I'm changing the
Now you're changing the question. Okay,
because,
it's going to be a long
because
night.
a little light bulb is going on.
I'm
yes.
just answering what you said about being the greatest. You asked me if I ever thought about being the greatest. The answer is no. That's a losing battle.
Because he's not the greatest.
No.
I mean, he's not.
I'm the greatest me, but I'm still wanting to make that better.
Right.
Right? No matter, what's your instrument? Okay, singing. One of my favorite singers is Shaka Khan, Aretha Franklin. I love those singers. But if I want you on my record, I can't call them. You get that? If I want you to sing on my record, I can't call Aretha Franklin.
She's not going to sound like you.
That means you're the greatest at being you. As good as Aretha and Shaka are, they're not good enough to be you. So as my parents said it, you are better than nobody. But nobody's better than you.
So it's all about being, it's all about being confident in who you are.
Being confident is part of it. Being accepting of yourself is also a part of it. Yes. Yeah, we're all born with a gift. Just to be born, we've already won the biggest contest we'll ever be in. Just to be born. Out of all the choices life had, it chose you. That's special. That is a gift. My thought is to present the best version of that gift to the world. Right? And I don't have to put anybody lower in order to do that. I want my gift to raise everyone up, not diminish. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mom.
And if you, no matter who you find that you consider to be the greatest, and you talk to them, one thing that I found, not only do they 99% not think they're the greatest, but they want to keep getting better. So if somebody's the greatest, what's there to work for? You know what I mean? Chick Corea is listening to Scriabin or something in his headphones, or listening to one of your albums, trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, they're
still going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 75.
But confidence is a key too. Also, confidence is a key, because confidence without arrogance, without the negative ego, without I'm better than you, right. But being confident. Because if I want to go to a doctor and I say, hey doctor, I've got this illness, can you fix it? Who says, oh, well, I'm okay as a doctor. Some people say I'm okay. I'm going somewhere else. I want that doctor to be confident. Right? If I go to a car mechanic, I want the mechanic to be confident. But if the car mechanic says, I'm the best in the world, I'm probably going to go somewhere else. It might cost me, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
so
I'm better than this guy down the street,
Right.
or I'm the best guy in town, if they say
But
that.
confidence means a lot. I want him to be confident. I never met him until today, but I want him to be confident. Man, can you play this groove? Well, maybe. I'm okay. All right, can you give me someone else? Confidence is powerful, but confidence doesn't mean I'm better. It just means I understand. Well, then you know the answer to your question. Yeah. We agree then. We spent all this time.
Next question.
We're already there. All right, we keep saying we're going to go fast. We're going to fast answers.
All right, fast.
Both of you use very unconventional techniques.
We both use very unconventional techniques.
Yeah, how did you come to develop them?
How did we come to develop our unconventional techniques?
Well, I grew up in an era, and we did, where there was no YouTube, and there were no videos. And so we used our ears, listening to records, and trying to figure out ways to emulate what was on the record. So in a way, I think YouTube is amazing and all the information you can get. But then when somebody just shows you, this is how I do it, then that's how you're going to do it. You're going to finger it like that. You're going to play it like that. For me, I just heard these sounds. For instance, I heard Jocko, but I had no idea how he did it. There was no manual on that. So I ended up figuring out my own way to do that, which led to bigger chords. Because if I'd have done it the way Jocko did it, I would never have been able to do some of the other stuff. So finding your own way to play what you hear, I think is really where it's at for me anyway. If somebody says, show me your artificial harmonic technique, I'll show them how I do it, and then I'll say, now you take it and go do something completely different with it.
Yeah. Comes from having a sound you want to hear. And then you figure out how to do it. The same way you guys speak differently than when we do in America. You have different sounds. So I could say, man, you have unconventional technique. How did you learn it? Well, I grew up hearing it. And it was easy for you. So if you can hear it first, you'll figure it out. Yeah.
What's your advice for students who you feel are being hard on themselves and are perfectionists?
For students that are being hard on themselves and being perfectionists, what was that guitar player? His name again? That we just emailed? Yeah. All right, you can do what we did with him. Just make it fun at the...
I'm mainly trying to compose, and I'm a bass player, but I'm composing on the piano, and whenever I compose, I get stuck.
What's the question?
How do you get over getting stuck on something you know that isn't right?
Okay, that's a different question. How do you get over being stuck or being hard on yourself? Which one? Okay.
I feel like I'm not there.
Okay. All right, so let me answer. How do you get over being hard on yourself? What we did with him, the guitarist, is we had him play totally as bad as possible, and it still sounded good. So, if you can be as bad as you try to be and it still sounds good, why are you being hard on yourself? Right? Make it fun. Just make it fun. That student is trying to be so right. Just make it fun. That's just a way. There's a bunch of answers, but one is just to do what we did with him. Let's just have fun.
I'll make it even easier for you. What do you like to do besides sit at the piano and compose? Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, mainly musical hobbies and...
No, nothing musical.
So, TV, I guess.
Okay, you need to get a life. And I say that kind of joking.
It's the truth.
I say it joking, but I had students way back when I taught at Musicians Institute, and I'll never forget this one bass player. He asked me the same question. He goes, I keep practicing, and I don't feel like I'm getting any better. I keep working, and then I practice more, and I just don't feel like anything's happening. And it happened to be a Friday. And I said, look, here's my address. Outside of LA, I lived up in this little ski resort. I said, first, do you ski? And anytime somebody from Europe says, yes, I ski a little bit, you're in trouble. But I said, okay, well, come up to my house. Here's the address. I said, but here's the caveat. If you bring a bass, if I see you outside of my door when you ring and you're carrying a bass, I will not answer the door. So I said, don't bring it. It's 2 hours away. Come up to the mountains. Anyway, he did. We skied the whole weekend. We just hung out. It was nothing to do with music. All the pressure was gone then. Then he could show me what a great skier he was and about killed me. But when I saw him the next week, he was a different person. And he said the best thing he learned was that oftentimes, the more I try to reach for something, the more it pulls away. So all he did was just go away from, it's like a relationship with another person. I mean, Willie Nelson's lyric is, how can I miss you if you never go away? So when you think about that with your composition, sometimes, and this is doesn't fix everything, but it's good just to get away from it and go do something else. And then it'll start to come back. It does for a lot of people.
If all you do is music and you don't have a life outside of that, that means your music is about music, right? When real good music is about life. And if you have no life, you have nothing to write about.
And that's what a lot of composers say, that music is a reflection of life. And sometimes they say even of my life. And I'll go one step further. If you don't have a life, then you have nothing to reflect except the music. So it's almost like a feedback loop.
Without going into the whole analogy or story behind this, when you get stuck, especially repeatedly, that is life telling you to take a break. That's all it is. That's life saying, rest, put it down, do something else.
And if you don't, injuries happen. That's
Yeah.
how people get injured.
Right. Because when life makes you rest, it usually doesn't in a way that doesn't make you happy. But when you build in your own rest and own breaks and own get away from it times, then things are easier.
1 minute answer. Yes.
When I started playing, I just had no rules and I did whatever I wanted.
When you started, you had no rules and did whatever you wanted. Yes.
Did whatever I wanted. Now when I'm learning everything needs to be a professional musician.
Sure.
As you said, I feel like I'm narrowing my vision and everything. And this period, right now, I feel like I just got so many new tools that I don't know how to use them, so I just use less tools than I used to.
Cool.
That period,
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations?
What's your instrument? Bass. You should be using less tools if you're playing bass. Yeah, that gets you gigs. Yeah, yeah. All these tools that we're using get you attention, but it gets you attention from other bass players. And bass players don't hire bass players, right? So less is more when it comes to playing bass.
I can tell you, I listened to a recording of me and my friends years ago, and I just that was me. That was bass player was me. Even now, these kind of music, I come to in a whole other way. It'd be less good, I think, less interesting, less special. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't think that learning makes you less creative. Thank you. But I do think that that's this point when you get so many tools, you don't know where to put them.
If someone having so many tools, you don't know where to put them.
Or you're aware of you start being aware of what you did, but you don't.
I'll explain it this way. This is a story I heard from a great martial artist. The kung fu teacher that I know who was talking about Bruce Lee's teacher, whose name is Ip Man. They say Ip Man, who was known to have never lost a fight, greatest martial artist. They're making movies about him now. Someone asked Ip Man about fighting. He says, in all the fights, they were asking about because he's never lost a fight. He says, in all these fights, I only used 3 moves. Right? Now, he knows thousands, but he only used 3 and never lost a fight. So my point is that he got so good at these 3 that was all he needed. So sometimes when you're trying to get good at all these, you're not getting as good at these that you need to get good at. So maybe you pick a few and just really get good at those. You won't lose the others. But I also know this, that Miles Davis, a lot of the greatest musicians, it seemed like as they got older, they played less. But it was really that they realized they could say more by saying less. Old people, the same way. So you can do it with less, but it doesn't mean you're saying less. Those are a couple answers for you.
All right, right over there. We'll be here all night. Yeah. You got to talk louder.
If we weren't musicians.
If we weren't musicians, what would we be? I'd be a pro surfer.
You mean like what would we be doing? Sure. Surfing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do love martial arts, but I love outdoors. Like right now, that answer changes in different periods of my life. Right now, I would be leading people on outdoor long nature excursions. Yeah, how to live off the land and all
That's a
kind of
tough one. I mean, I have a lot of. Some people say I would be a lawyer, and that's kind of, but probably would. Anyway, that's a great question to end on because it's short, and but we want to.
Let me ask them a question.
Yes.
It's a quick question. This is for any of you. If you could give me one word, your own word, it could be in any language, whatever. Give me one word to describe music. What is music to you in one word? Yes. Inspiration, love, freedom, life. Yeah. What was it? Enthusiasm. Feeling, empathy, rhythm, fun. Continue.
In the back.
What was it? Concept, right?
Yeah.
Here's go. Okay, we're out of time, so we'll stop. But here's the cool thing. I've been asking this question now in a bunch of countries around the world for
Many years.
over a decade. Been asking this question. And I get the same answers. I'm not surprised anymore by your answers. I love them every time, but I'm not surprised. But I'm always surprised, not by the answers you do give, but the answers you don't give. Nobody has ever said music is scales. Music is modes. Music
Chops.
is theory, techniques, chops. You know, all that. No one's even ever mentioned an instrument. When I ask, what's music? No one said it's a bass. It's a piano. No one's ever mentioned. You always say beautiful words. So that raises my next question. If that's what music is, why do you forget that as soon as you pick up your instrument?
Preach on. Yeah.
But think about it. Think about it. You know what it is to you. It didn't take you long to come up with it. But something happens as soon as we pick this up. We forget what we really know. All of a sudden, music becomes skills, techniques. I have to be right. And it's not fun. Which means by your own definition, when you pick up your instrument, you're not even playing music. And you expect people to hear it? Now, if you have a good teacher, they're going to teach you scales, modes, chords. They're going to teach you about the instrument. But that's not music. Those are tools that allow us to express ourselves with music.
Building materials.
Say it again.
Building materials.
Right. Don't ever mistake the tools for music. You might even have to remind your teacher that these are just tools. These aren't music. And that's okay to do. Because you need the tools, or else we can't express ourselves. But the goal is to play music, right? So don't ever forget that when you play or listen.
Amen. And speaking of teachers, several months ago when we found out we were coming over here, I did reach out and found Ari Volanes. Where's Ari? Yeah. And he was so gracious, and he deserves a huge round of applause for helping put this together, because without him, we wouldn't be there. And we'd love to have him come up and play some with us, and as we send you guys home to have fun and practice. But the only thing better than two bass players is, well, you know how that goes.
More. Big bottom.
More bass.
The bigger the pusher.
But it's really been great. You know what I need to do before I always try to get a picture of the audience, and this is such an intensely cool and focused audience. I'm going to back up and ask you to just give me a whatever.
And while he's getting plugged up, I will say we've been in Israel for, I don't know, three and a half days or so, and it has just been so much fun. The people have been so kind and so friendly, and we, all of our countries, we have our trials and our ups and downs, and in America, of course, we're going through our period right now. But no matter what, and I'm speaking for myself right now, no matter what I see on the news and on the papers, it's what I see at the concerts that lets me know what people are really about. The press wants it to make like we hate each other. And I realize we don't. I mean, because we see it every night, not some nights, every night. We see people from different cultures, different political backgrounds, different monetary, different religious backgrounds coming together in the name of music and having fun and not caring about the other things. So it's very, very nice to come all the way around the world and still see beautiful people. Yeah. So we appreciate you for that. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, set us up.
Steve was just about to play a melody, and I stole it from him. If I just went, that sounds better because of what it came out of. So one more lesson. Keep going. This is a one chord jam, right? How many notes we're in the key of A minor, okay? How many notes are there really in the key of A minor? No. In diatonically, in A minor, 7, right? That means we can go to any of those 7 notes because they're in the key. We can treat them as 7 different chords rather than just one A minor. Does that make sense? So Ari, right here, just go to a different note that's in key of A minor. Go to a different one. Go to a different one. Go to a different one. And even if I'm playing chords, A minor, all of those notes are in my chord. So they will always work. So we don't have to treat this as one chord. We can treat it as 7. And it's much more fun for the soloist. And then when we come back to this one chord, it feels fresh and new again. Cool? Ari on the bass. Sharon on the drums. Nice. My name's Victor Wooten. That's my good friend, Steve Bיילי.
Yeah, thank y'all, thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Hey, thanks to all the volunteers. Thanks for coming up.